So you're about to watch an epic interview with one of my clients, Andrea, who joined my program about 1 year ago. And I actually show you the message she sent me when she joined my program saying she had no clue what she was doing. And now she is making, as she states in this video, about $11,000 per month with her social media management business. I'm going to just cut straight into the interview. That's the context. She's been with me about a year, and I know she's going to scale very much beyond this point as well. All right, guys, welcome into this interview. Today, I've got Andrea, who has actually been in our program for just over a year. I checked it today, just before, to make sure we had the right dates and timestamps. What's super interesting is I have this message from Andrea that I had just sent to her beforehand, which is when she first joined us, right? Kind of where she started from. I was going to show it really quickly, just so you can see. This was just her like introduction message back in 2024. And at this point, Andrea, I think it's interesting because like you had obviously started the journey of social media marketing. You had just gotten onto Upwork. You had seen my like 7 hour video on YouTube. And then that's what, of course, led you into the program from here. And obviously seeing where you're at now, where you've basically got a 6 figure a year business, it's super inspirational, and that's why we're doing this interview right here. So, Andrea, just to kind of give people a bit of an intro, it'd be awesome if you could kind of introduce yourself, what people should know, and just where you're currently at with things.
Yeah, so my background really was in teaching art, and then I transitioned to doing more social media. So actually, when I started, let me just back up. So I had been an art teacher, and then COVID hit, and then I started nannying. But on the side from nannying, I was like, I should just really get into social media. I've been seeing things about social media, like I could totally make this a viable business. Um, and I originally thought that my way into social media was actually creating content for brands. And so I went the UGC route. And so while I was nannying and I realized that I didn't want to go back into teaching art because I didn't know if I was going to lose my job again, I started doing UGC. And I went that route and started creating content for brands, but I started burning out because I didn't want to keep creating the content, editing the videos, negotiating with brands, all these different things. So in the last year, I started looking for ways to get into the business. And then I found Adam's video on YouTube. And I had at this point been looking for different business models instead of doing UGC, and I thought that UGC was completely dead, for me at least, in terms of what I wanted to pursue. And little did I know that UGC actually was the way for me to contact some of the clients that I'm working with now. And it's an edge that I have because I've been in the other end being a content creator. So a lot of the clients that I have now are looking for UGC creators, and now I'm on the end of hiring UGC creators and negotiating prices and doing all of that. So, yeah, it's been a cool journey of seeing being from that end and then burning out and then thinking that I completely quit it to then having a pivot in this area of a new perspective in it. But yeah, I started the program last year and I really struggled a lot because I didn't have a lot of accountability. I was like really diving into like just a lot of internal beliefs that I had to unravel and realize that in terms of creating a business, the mindset around it was something that I need to grow in first before I could actually hit the the six figures that I have now, and still growing. But I think there was a lot of like internal resistance. So for the first, I would say like I started last year during the summer, but I really didn't kick it off until January this year. And even in January, all the way up to, I would say even June, I was just really struggling. And I had gotten to a good point of like, all right, I have like four clients, but then there was this constant battle that I've had where I was like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Like, I don't really know if social media management is what I want to do. I had a bad experience with a VA that I had been telling Ty and Adam about, where I was like, I am struggling with getting the right assistant, and it really sucks. And I don't know if this business is something that I can really continue. So I just like really struggled up until the point where I was actually about to quit at the end of June and I was gonna lay it down because I was like, I don't know if this business is for me. I keep getting distracted when I'm on social media. When I'm trying to do work for clients, I get lost in scrolling and I was like, I'm isolated. I'm feeling like this remote job. I'm very social. I don't know if this is like something that I can really do. But then I decided to, after talking with friends and different people who were around me, they were like, hey, building a business is not easy and you've gotten this far with having 4 clients. And how about you just keep pushing through, hire the right person, and just give it one last shot. So I ended up reaching back out to a VA who was my second option during the first round of interviews that I've had with, yeah, when I put that posting out. And she actually changed the game for me. So I have to credit it really to having the right team members. And Ty talks about this a lot, but I'm so grateful that I had the mentoring and the conversations with Ty and Adam because Ty was really like, if you have the right team members, it changes the game. And literally, that's what happened. Like, I would have to say, mid-July, she came in, and then everything changed. Like, she and I just worked so closely together, and I was telling her my vulnerabilities of like, hey, I have this business. I'm, I don't honestly have the capacity to bring on an assistant, but I'm overwhelmed, and I'm also struggling with like all these different things. And she just came in and like um took it where we left off and yeah, and then from there, I hired second assistant, which is her friend that she referred. So he's a really incredible team member. And then I hired on a full-time graphic designer. And I'm actually looking to hire another VA. So maybe we can start expanding, doing more of like Adam, what you talked about with the silos
Mm,
system.
yeah.
And I really want to start getting the business that route. I feel really clear and solid about where the business is moving now. I feel really confident in terms of like I get to do what I like, which is actually being client facing, and then having more of the creative direction and strategy, and then outsourcing all of the rest to my team members. So that's really it went from I lost a few clients and so I just had gone down to 2 clients and then in the last 3 weeks we jumped up to now we have about 12 clients. It's been a lot, very overwhelming. Now we're about at like 11K per month revenue. So I I feel like we could definitely um bring on another team member and really start uh yeah, I really want to there's a lot a lot of movement.
For sure. I think what's super interesting, Andrea, as well is like it's very rare that we work with someone and it's like a linear path, of join and get 2 clients and then keep those 2 clients and then get to 4 clients. And it just moves, step by step. It's very rare. Sometimes it happens. But in most cases, it's what you mentioned there, where there's a lot of mental resistance, there's limiting beliefs and barriers you've got to personally work through. And then you're going to have those moments like you had of, is this even the right thing? Am I building something that's maybe just for the money, or do I actually like the business? And does it give me that sense of fulfillment and purpose that I might be looking for as well? So
Yeah.
I think it's really good you brought that up because that is the reality. Nobody really starts a business and everything is perfect right away and it just clicks and it's amazing and they never doubt themselves. It just doesn't really happen that way. So
Hmm.
appreciate you bringing that up first off. There's a few points I've written down just from that kind of intro that I'd love to jump into for people. The first is kind of the difference between the UGC side and obviously social media management. It's just for people that might be newer to this whole arena of marketing. What would you say from the experience you've had now doing both? Like, what would be some of those main differences, and why ultimately was UGC not something that you were going to do long term?
Yeah, so UGC is user generated content, and it's basically when you see people looking like influencers on a business page, like on Instagram, if you see like a coffee brand and you see all these different kind of people promoting the coffee brand. But if you try to click, you're not actually able to get to that influencer's page.
Mm,
It's because they're probably not an influencer. They're just a content creator creating for that brand. So that's what I was doing. And I was pitching to a lot of different brands. I got a lot of stuff for free, and in exchange for products for free, I would create content. And then if I was to be paid, it would range, the cost of a video would range from $50 to several hundred, 300, however much. If I'm editing the video, it would I would charge more. If they just want raw footage, it would be a lot cheaper. And so I just felt like there was so much labor that went into it in terms of setting up my camera, rereading scripts over and over so I don't sound robotic, it sounds natural, practicing the scripts, staring at the camera, doing all this stuff. Like there was a lot of the actual like content creation work versus I feel like it wasn't scalable. And coming into the business here, where I'm doing more of like the management side, I get to hire people who are content creators, and I don't have to do any of that work. I will say, I do enjoy content creation still. I do have one client who is my highest ticket client, and I've actually agreed with them to be a brand ambassador to create
Mhm.
content for them. So I'm okay with that because the price is right. I really believe in their products and I enjoy it, and it's not too much of a commitment. So I'm still creating content for brands if I feel like it's right, but I'm not going down really the UGC route
Mhm.
right now. So I would say, yeah, with having a social media managing like business, you can outsource. You really have, I feel like, yeah, you could grow your team and really scale it. With a UGC business, it's like you just have to do all the work and you're putting in basically hours for video and creating the content like that.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense. And like, I know I have a friend that has an agency, but also does UGC. And it's very similar to what you mentioned, where I know for a fact he has agency clients where he might manage their social media, but then he
Hmm.
does do some UGC as well. Because again, he believes in it. They pay very good money. It just kind of makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
One thing I've seen with him though is that when he wants to travel, it becomes very difficult because then if he wants
Hmm.
to go on a 1 or 2 month trip, which he could do with his business because it's remote, the UGC side is like, you just can't do it, you know? Or
Yeah.
if he does, it's very scrappy and, you know, it's a bit of a mess trying to organize the logistics. So I know for, yeah, people that I've seen personally, that's obviously a big drawback as well. Whereas I
Hmm.
guess with all of your agency clients now, you do have that flexibility. You know, you could just
Yeah.
move around if you did really want to. But that makes sense. And I think it's like you said, it obviously has given you that edge, right? To be able to showcase the work that you've done and just having the experience of creating content, you are going to be able to probably just know the concepts more than if
Hmm.
somebody has never created content. You know, and I think that's what's interesting, where it's not necessary to do UGC to get into social media marketing, but it definitely is an advantage, you know, massive, because you've got that insider look of, hey, I created this video with these hooks and it performed for this business on their social media. So I would imagine you can definitely lean on that. And I'm sure businesses pick up on that when they speak to you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I can whenever I see like brands looking for UGC content, I just tell them like, yeah, I've worked with brands on the UGC side.
Mm-hmm.
I've created content for them and I've like hired UGC and
Mm-hmm.
influencers, negotiated rates, which is big because a lot of the brands on Upwork, they're always like, I'm on a budget, can't afford
Yeah.
crazy amounts, you know?
Mm-hmm. For sure, for sure. That makes a ton of sense. And like, I guess that transition, you know, so from purely UGC to
Hmm.
this, I guess what made you make that switch? I know you obviously looked at there, the burnout was a big factor. The kind of trade-off, time for money trade-off, you wanted to be able to build a team, but how did that then look? You know, like what was the actual logistics of that? Did you stop all the UGC like completely and kind of just let's just go and move completely to this? Or did you just slowly kind of fizzle out the UGC contracts while starting to ramp up the social media side?
Yeah, the journey from UGC to now hiring UGC creators
Mm-hmm.
has been interesting. So I would say my last UGC video was like 2024, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I was working with an agency, so they gave me a lot of work, and I would say initially I was pitching a lot, and I was trying to make it my own business. And yeah, it was working out. And then when I got with an agency founded me. They scouted and they found me.
Hmm.
Um, then it was really easy because they gave me so much work and they basically, if I wanted to go full time in it and take and stop doing my nanny job, I could. So that is what I did. And I hit a season where I got severely depressed. And so I was like, I'm not feeling fulfilled in being a content creator and getting all these products that I don't even believe in, but I'm selling. And I have to talk about this skincare product that I don't even want to use, or
Yeah.
this perfume that's supposed to be attracting a partner, and I don't
Okay.
even believe in it, you know? And I just got so sick of it because I initially I would say for me, like I'm not money driven. And so even though I was getting pretty good pay from like an agency that had a lot of work, I just lost purpose in it. And so I would say I was like, I'm done with UGC, never going back. I'm not going to be a UGC creator. And I put that to the side and then went back into nanning. And I've always had these like business ideas that I want to create and develop. And especially with working in social media, like right now where I'm at, I'm also wanting to, have all these other creative businesses that I want to pursue. But going back to the UGC side, I um I found myself really burned out because I didn't know if I aligned with marketing brands that I didn't believe in. So I went back to the drawing board, got my part-time job, and I looked into different business models. Like I looked into bookkeeping, I looked into drop shipping, I looked into like basically anything where I could start making money online and work remote, but something that would give me income. And I wasn't thinking too much about purpose of the business and if I liked it. I was just like, what's going to make me money? And also, just a side note, I'm very creative. Like I said, I have a background in teaching art. I make music. And so my biggest thing was that I was like, I want to release music and create music and really just live as a creative and just make money on the side. Um, and so I was creating music and it was like also costing money. So I was like, what can I do to get more income? Bookkeeping was not something I found interesting. And I spent a lot of money on mentorship in terms of like trying to be a bookkeeper and do things
Hmm.
online that way. But I don't regret it because what that led me down the route of was looking at other mentorship programs, which then I found Adam. And then I was looking at all these ads of people who were talking about mentorship for drop shipping, for bookkeeping. And then it became down the road of like social media management. And that's kind of how these like the algorithm picked up on what I was looking for. And then Adam's YouTube videos started showing. And then I was like, all right, I need something. I need to latch onto this. And I think social media management actually sounds the most viable given the fact that like I have a creative background. I've done UGC. I know the industry a little bit more. So I was like, how hard can it be? Um, so yeah, that's how it started. But then I realized I had all these struggles leading up to this point. Um, but now we're here.
Now we're here,
Yeah.
100%. And I think what's interesting as well, Andrea, is like you said, so the creative side, right? So the music, the art, like I think the beauty of social media marketing is that long term, like you could, of course, have that be a focus of your agency. So like there's always these ways in which you can bring the passion projects you have in to the actual business. Another thing that I personally found really interesting was that once I had my agency up and running, and I had the thought of maybe I'll start a personal brand, maybe I'll start posting content, it was very easy because I didn't have to hire a new team. I could just take the team that I already had for the agency and go, hey, well, you're already editing videos. Maybe you can edit some of mine. And you're already doing graphics for my clients. Maybe you can create some for me. So it kind of opens the door, I think, to a lot of other opportunities that you could even tie into this, where then the two of them kind of run simultaneously and you can
Mhm.
benefit from the systems and the people that you already have in the agency. So who knows? Long term, we might be seeing a lot more of your art and music out there, which I think that would be awesome to see as well. Something that I know people are going to be asking is getting clients, right, Andrea? This is obviously For a lot of people, it's probably where they have the most limiting beliefs and the most doubts when starting. Where am I going to get clients? Why are they going to hire me? And how am I going to get them versus all the other people that might be applying for these positions? You obviously have had those periods, like you said recently, where you've gone from 3 clients to 12 clients in almost a matter of weeks, which is crazy. For most people, that is, as you said, overwhelming and a lot to deal with, but very impressive from, of course, getting the clients. So I know you're using Upwork. I'd love to, yeah, just get you to expand on that and kind of give people the insights as to how you approach Upwork. What are the important things that you feel have led you to those crazy busy weeks with like 4 or 5 new clients in a single week?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say really hopping in the calls with you and Ty is really important because then you get the confidence of like, okay, you get the education. I haven't personally talked with Ty about my Upwork proposal or anything like that, but I've hopped in a lot of calls where people were getting critiques in terms of what they should be putting, and I
Mm-hmm.
really ran with that. So I would say it's really important just like hopping in the calls and asking specifically about like those details and proposals are so important, and then also having links to your portfolio. Um, so my main thing was when I first joined, I was like, my only way of getting clients is going to be through Upwork, and I'm going to commit to that, and we're going to see results from it. So if it's a numbers game, it can definitely work. And I've seen it with UGC where it was a numbers game, and then soon enough the results came in where clients would then be looking for you. And I just knew that that would be the same model I would take to Upwork. So initially when I joined, um, the issue for me, it wasn't about getting clients because I was like, oh, if I get clients, if I put in a number every week, then I'll definitely get clients. The issue was more so just my limiting beliefs. So I would say in terms of getting clients, what I did was I just hit the numbers. Like I was like, okay, I'm gonna do 10 per day. And it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I had the time because I had quit my job and I was like, if this is what I'm going to do full time, then I should just be, and I don't have any clients, I don't have any work. I'm just going to be spending my time working on proposals. So I know that Ty preaches on doing 2 to 3 really solid proposals per day and making sure they're like undeniably good.
Mm-hmm.
What I did was I just blasted. I would spend the time on proposals for brands that had great job postings that I really, really want to work with. I spent a lot of time on those. But then other job postings where I was like, yeah, I could work with this person. I don't know too much about them. They don't have a lot of information about their brand. I'm just gonna shoot a copy and paste type of proposal.
Mm-hmm.
So that way I hit my number and every week I would try to hit a minimum number, and that way I got clients pretty fast. So I would say whatever Ty says, I think it's the ratio of like you shoot a number of proposals from there, you get a portion who respond to those, and then from a portion you hop on a call, and from the calls you get a proportion where you can actually like land. Or maybe hop on a second call, and then from the second call, you can land clients. Um, so given that, that was kind of my journey of and mentality of like, okay, I'm just gonna hit a certain number every week and also see how I can improve my proposals, how I can improve my messaging. And I also realized that when clients see your portfolio and they message you, then they're also gonna ask industry specific portfolio pieces. So if it's real estate, they're going to ask more real estate questions like, um, do you have accounts that you've worked with in real estate? So then I would have in my Notion page a document of just like industry specific if the client is going to ask questions like real estate or content creation specific. Like, so it would be genre specific that I would just have ready to go links. Um, and that way I didn't have to think so hard about what I need to send these clients. So I would have my portfolio and then I would have ready to go links on industry and then accounts that I've managed and then links on like for brands that I've actually created content for.
Makes sense. Yeah. And with that, Andrea, for your process, right, when you go in each day to Upwork and you're looking at all the jobs that are posted,
Mhm.
we have kind of like, the set checklist and rough criteria that most people kind of tend to stick to. What has been your process there? Is there certain indicators you have of like, stay a million miles away from these ones? Or how do you go about actually filtering to know which jobs are probably right for you based on what you've seen so far?
Hmm. Yeah, it's been a while. Okay. I would say for Upwork, I found some really great clients who are very anonymous on their job posting and they don't have a lot of information.
Mm,
And I would say the people who have had a lot of information of detail on their job posting and know exactly what they want are a little bit more anal. So I think it depends. Like it's just I know that, yeah, I can't really, I don't know. I just feel like I'm still learning it too. And I think
yeah.
sometimes people also don't, they haven't worked with Upwork, so they don't know what to put. And even though there's
Mhm.
like AI generated ideas to help the client come up with the job posting, sometimes they're just so bad at like being on the internet and like not being online that they don't know what to write or what to post or they don't even know what they're looking for in social media. So my thing is just if it says social media, the job posting says social media and it has something about the work, then I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna just go for it and give it a try. So my thing is just be as open as possible and see
Mhm.
what can come out of it. And in the beginning, I really just want to hop on calls and really want to talk to as many people as possible. So I just open the door to everyone and I would say that, yeah, a lot of the job postings, yes, they are trash. Like they'll never get back to you, especially if they have like a one-line sentence, and they don't seem too serious.
Mhm.
But for me, I wanted to just see it as a numbers game and hit as many proposals and just try to like, my goal really was I just want to get on calls and I just
Mhm.
really want to practice like sales calls and all of that. So I'm just going to um, try to get as many proposals in as possible. So that was my mindset.
Yeah, yeah. And I think what's interesting is like we try and come up with checklists and processes to make it kind of easy, or I say easy, but like to make it kind of easy to know what to look for and what to not look for. But as you said there, like there's going to be jobs that you will find that don't fall perfectly within those parameters that then
Hmm.
turn into clients. So it's not like 100% set way of doing things. And I think that's it's interesting because also you could kind of look at it from the opposite perspective and say, well, if everybody's going to look for these same things, well, then essentially those jobs that have all these things might just be more popular. They're going to get more proposals. There's more competition. So if I go the opposite approach and I go for the job post that's, by a business that's never used Upwork before, like you said, it's a very vague job post. They give pretty much no details of who they are and what they do. Well, yeah, there's probably going to be less competition. So I might actually have a better chance. And that doesn't have really an indicator as to their budget. They could have a budget of 3K a month for all we know. So I think
Right.
that's interesting because clearly it's worked with what you've done. On that topic, Andrea, I've written down beliefs here and I've actually highlighted it for myself because you've mentioned that a couple of times so far.
Yeah.
I would love to get you to run through on and just kind of what beliefs you've had to break through. Obviously, only those that you want to share, in the interview. But again, most people, that's the biggest hurdle. It's the biggest roadblock when we start is, why should I personally believe that I'm, capable of this or worthy of this? How do I push through that belief? So we'd definitely love to know kind of what you've worked through on that and what's worked for you.
Yeah, that's a great question. I do want to go back to the Upwork
Sure. Yeah.
proposals because I know that maybe a lot of people here are going to listen to this and um think about what they're looking for. I will say some practical things in terms of what I would not apply to
Mhm.
is any job posting that's past 6 hours, I wouldn't apply to. And then also if there were about like 25 people or more applying to a job, I wouldn't apply. So those were the two things that I did look for. Like if even if it's under 3 hours, like I know that that might be like so I was constantly on Upwork, always
Mhm.
looking for jobs because I felt like there was like some days had new jobs like every hour. But I never wanted to apply to a job that was past 5 hours.
Mhm.
So that was one of the rules that I had for myself. So that was like practical things for Upwork. Um, in terms of beliefs, yeah, I had to break through a lot of barriers in terms of my own belief system of like um I really struggled with thinking of like, oh, well, if I run a business, it is going to take all my time. And then I won't have any time for my creative stuff. So, yeah, maybe I can make a lot of money, but then all my hours are going to be swamped and I rather live a creative lifestyle than to make a lot of money. It was
Mhm.
like this like
Mhm.
mentality of like money that I had. Um and the fear of going all in. So I would say that if you have a fear of going all in, you'll never know really what's on the other side until you just give it a commitment and a
Mhm.
time frame and really just say yes. Yeah, I think the biggest thing was that I had a fear of like, what does it look like to go all in? And if I do, is it going to eat away and then I'm going to be a different person? I'm not going to do the things that I actually want to do. Like, is it going to hinder me from actually achieving the things that I want in life? Um, and yeah, I think there was initially just a fear, especially to I didn't know if I could find the right team members and if I could actually like enjoy what I'm actually doing and just just swamped with deliverables and become unhappy, you know. So I had all these thoughts about uh, the fear of going all in. So I would
Mhm.
say what helped me with that was just talking with friends and then realizing, okay, if I don't go in all in on this, what are the other options? I have to get a full-time job. I need to, if, yeah, the areas that I want to work in with like music and all of that, I could definitely go the route of getting a full-time job and building something on the side that's not going to make income, that's going to take 10 years to grow. Like, or I could go all in with building this business that I know that can work and I can enjoy the process of it. Um, and really see what comes out of it in the next 6 months. Like I could give it a time frame. What I didn't realize was that when I said yes to saying yes to breaking these barriers and then actually committing to the business was that I actually realized that I fell in love with the process of like strategy, like talking to clients and yeah, being able to facilitate what my team members are doing and like being a great leader. Like all these things that came with the business, I didn't realize I would enjoy.
Mhm.
Um, and I think those are like really great benefits of committing and saying yes and actually seeing what's on the other side.
So good, so good. Because I think that fear, I think back on my journey and I had those exact same thoughts. I really did. For me, it was when I was in college and I'd come across social media marketing and I had a little bit of different business experience, bit of drop shipping and e-commerce, and kind of similar to what you found when you found social media marketing. Everything just aligned to this to make the most sense. But even with that, where it kind of felt like the stars were aligning, that like, Adam, you have to do this, I still put it off for like 9 to 10 months, you know? I put it off because again, that was the fear of like, well, what if I do this thing and what if I can't balance it in my final year of college? I remember having this thought right in summer. It's just funny to say because people think when I started that it was just like I was ready from day one. It's like, no, I wasn't. I was very not ready. I remember getting this thought of like, okay, this is it. I have to start social media marketing. I've maybe got 1 or 2 months of summer and then I go back to college for my final year. And I didn't do it because I thought to myself, what if it works so well that I get so many clients that I then am so busy in college that I can't do anything, like that I can't finish college and serve the clients at the same time. And
Hmm.
that is such an interesting perspective, right? Because as we all know, starting a business, you will need to kind of fight a little bit for the first few clients. You know, they won't just run to you in most cases. I was there thinking, what if it works so well? You know, that I just can't do this thing. So it's funny how like even that, which you could see as a positive belief of the business makes sense and it's going to work well, I allowed myself to not do it for nearly a whole year because of that. You know, it's kind of crazy. So I think it's good that you brought that up because again, people are going to see this interview, Andrea, and they're going to see my story and somebody else's story, and they're going to think that everything was perfect when you started. You know, you never doubted yourself. You thought it was the best thing ever from day one. And yeah, the reality, as you said, is you figure it out as you go. You know, you just got to go with it. And yeah, give it, I think that's a beautiful way of putting it. Give it 6 months. Like, give it 6 months. You know, if you hate it in 6 months, fair enough. At least you gave it a try. You know, you gave
Right.
it the time to actually see it through. And I think that's where obviously a lot of people don't give it that time. They're always 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and maybe they never do it, or they kind of dabble here and there, but never feel kind of fully committed to making this work. So yeah, it's good that you
Yeah,
brought
I
that
think
up.
Yeah, I feel like the joy also comes in when you get better at something and like even sales calls, like it's so funny to see that something that I was so nervous about and I would get so much anxiety over
Mm-hmm.
now that I actually enjoy it. Like I'm looking forward to talking to people and understanding what their business is and fighting them on like the prices and actually being like, this is why it makes sense to have it this price. And yeah, it's like I get so much joy out of like becoming better at something. And I would have never thought that initially if I had not given it time, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%. Love that. The other note that I wrote to myself, Andrea, coming into this was around kind of the team side, just how
Hmm.
you've started to build that out recently. And you obviously made that point at the start, right? Of so you hired somebody that just was fantastic. And that came from having somebody previously who wasn't as good. And so what I guess looking back at that, do you feel like you kind of just got the right person? Or was there certain specific qualities that you looked for in that person that you feel kind of allowed you to pick that person? Because, I think the reality is for a lot of people, you might hire somebody, they may not be the best fit. Okay, I've hired many people that weren't the best fit. But when I have hired those people that are a good fit, you realize very quickly, like you said, you go, wow, this is insane. So I'd love to get your thoughts on that as to how you found them and kind of the difference between the people you've hired that maybe didn't turn out so well and those that have, yeah, turned out to be really great so far.
Yeah. Um, so I would say my first VA that I hired, she was working 20 hours a week and she was getting a lot done, but she was such a fast worker. And even though I appreciated her efficiency, she was not detail oriented. So getting everything done on time, doing everything within the hours, but I would check the copy, there would be mistakes. There, I would tell her to check again. And it just was like this ongoing conversation of like, hey, you can slow down. But my highest priority is that you're detail oriented. Um, and so that was something that I was complaining a lot to Ty and saying like, I don't know what's going on. And he's like, you just have the wrong person. And I was like, no, but I like her and I'm attached to her and all these different things. And then once I let her go, I was in this place for a few weeks of not having an assistant, and then all the deliverables like just piled on me, and I felt pressured. And that was when I was like considering quitting the business. But then in my second approach, when I decided to give it another chance, I said, okay, these are the things that I really need. Not only do I need someone who is detail oriented, but I am also I get distracted. I have ADHD and I also have a tendency to scroll on social media. So what I need is to have office hours and I actually need my team members working the same time that I do. I know that's not something that's preached about or it's just not common, especially for like a remote job. But what I knew that I needed was someone to cover my weaknesses and areas that I fall short in. So I was like, I'm gonna set certain hours where I know they're available and I'm available, and we're gonna work in the same time, the time frame, so that I'm getting work done, they're getting work done, and we have accountability in that way. The accountability was huge. And what came out of this was that because my team member, when I hired her, she knew that I was available, and then I knew she was available. We ended up having a lot of calls, which built a lot of trust, which then also built this wonderful friendship. And she's able to see the vision that I have for the business and, yeah, able to see my areas of priorities in terms of quality, um, being detail oriented, what strategies I'm actually trying to implement for my clients. And then because of this really close trust that I've built with her, because we've had a lot of this ongoing conversation, she referred her friend when I said that I was looking to hire again. And because I trusted her so much, um, I looked at her friend's profile. He didn't have much experience, but I trusted her. And now he's on the team and like I love him so much and he's also in those office hours that we have. And so basically everybody who we have on the team who's full time, my two assistants and the graphic designer, they're all within those office hours. So we're all able to hit problems right away. We're all on WhatsApp and yeah, we're all working at the same time and able to tackle any issues that we might have. So that's been a really great solution for building like just the team culture and just tackling client issues and deliverables.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. And I think the friend referral method it's common. I know for me, I've had many of those good team members who then also have friends that, it's almost like they've attracted the similar type of person into their life as friends. And then they, come into the business. My first client manager referred in two client managers to us. And we found it was so easy because she almost kind
Mm.
of trained them up herself, met
Wow.
up with them in person, trained them up, and made it very easy for us. So, yeah, interesting that you've followed with a similar process there for sure.
Mhm.
I've got a couple of pieces for you here, Andrea. So, Abby, she didn't actually ask a question, but she just mentioned how she loved the honesty that you've shared of like that struggle and feeling distracted sometimes with social media. And then she said, "Great job on the growth." So awesome to
Thanks.
see. Thank you, Abby. And then also Kaho, he said, "Congrats on the success." He also asked any words of inspiration for someone starting from zero. Okay. Also, he said someone who has put things off and wants to get the motivation that you have.
Um, yeah, I would say with like inspiration, um, just say yes to everything, even if it's like a client who's low paying. I feel like the uh education you get from being just hands-on, you never know what kind of clients you're going to work with and what kind of lessons you're going to learn. So when you just like yeah, get in the trenches and start doing the work. Don't don't say no initially to the clients that are you want to work with, even if it's low paying, because I would say I recently signed a client who is my lowest paying client. All they need is they already have posts made, they already know what they're about. All they need is for me to post on their TikTok and their Instagram, and it's only like once a week. I initially was gonna say no because I was like, 180. I've had clients who are like 600 to 2000, like, and I was thinking like, I don't know. But when I was thinking about the fact that I want to say yes to every opportunity right now because I just really want to grow and I want to learn, I said yes to this client. And this client in particular has been my favorite and has blown me away because every video that we've come out with has been going viral. And I'm learning from their storytelling, I'm learning from their copy, I'm learning from their team. And so I would not blow off any, like that client specifically has taught me, um, yeah, like to not be afraid of opportunities, even if you think it's low paying. Like the education you get from it is invaluable. So, um, I think just getting your foot in the door, like getting started with Upwork, just saying yes to it and then going for like just getting the work in, getting your reps
Yeah.
in.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Take what you can get and just get that hands-on experience.
Mhm.
It becomes so much easier once you've gotten that first win, that first yes, your first bit of hands-on experience to see, wow, I can actually do this thing. You know, it's not as big as I've made it up to be in my head. You know, it's very possible for me. I think that's such a struggle that, like, you know, it's hard to push through, but like you said, the only way through is through, really. You just got to go
Mhm.
and get those
Yeah.
reps in. I've got a question from Tino around, actually around Upwork. So he said, in terms of, you know, you sending out 10 a day, one, he said, how long did you maintain that approach? And then after how many weeks did you see results from that?
Um, I didn't really count how many weeks and how many like the results of it because
Mhm.
I mostly focused on the habit of getting it done. And so I was like, the results are going to come in, the clients will come in. I just need to get in the habit. And I think that's an important mindset because if you like, you don't even have to do a 10 a day. That's a lot. Even me, like, I couldn't do 10 a day, especially with if they're really great businesses having job proposals. I probably could on a good day like get five in. An
Mhm.
ideal day would be 10. But even that, it was hard. So I would say just getting into the habit of like putting the work in and getting even like five, like 3 to 5, per day. That's like call it a good day. And some weeks it would be like I would land 2 clients in a month. Other months, if I had lower numbers of proposals, I wouldn't land anything. So I would
Mhm.
say initially, like, don't focus on how fast you can get a client, but focus on building the habit of, like, it really is a habit because there will be days where you feel so unmotivated and then you don't want to do it. And then that rolls into a week. And then it gets hard to even just do the task of like sending a proposal. And then there's all this like, the mindset of like these barriers that you have with it. So I would say, yeah, don't think so much about trying to get a client. Like focus on getting the reps in, learning what you can, um, building a better portfolio, and soon enough, like clients will start to notice and even read your proposals and then begin to like reach out and yeah.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. Like you said, if you're just focused on that outcome,
Mhm.
it's, you know, and it's true for any type, whether it's Upwork, whether it's Instagram outreach, whether it's cold calls. If you just focused on, let me do this number, which will then in 1 or 2 weeks get me this number of clients, it rarely ever works that way, first off. And then when it doesn't work that way, you're just going to be let down. Your expectation is set in kind of the wrong direction. As you said, if you just attach it to the inputs, get good at that, results will flow. It's a matter of time. It's going to be sooner for some people, it's going to take longer for others. But the reality is, the only way that it won't work is if you just don't hit those numbers and if you just keep up too soon. So if you
Right.
can commit to those two things, yeah, it makes a ton of sense. So I think that's obviously shown, Andrea, and that's obviously how you've kind of carried that momentum through. Another question from Tino is, yeah, he's asking if you have like a vision board or a manifesto that you feel guides you. And then he said that he has this fear, which sounds very similar to the fear I had, Tino. I can relate. If he suddenly gets more clients, he's not sure he's able to handle it. So, how are you managing things now with the 11 clients that you currently have?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't have a vision board or a manifesto. Um, my thing is that in a business, my mindset, and I've heard this, so I've implemented it, is that anytime you have a business, you invest first and you see results later. So, I've taken that with, um, understanding that I'm going to build an agency. And with the agency, it's like, I don't want to do the graphic design. I don't want to do the video editing. I don't want to do the copy. I don't want to
Mhm.
do all of the details of the work. So even though I don't have the capacity, I'm gonna line up everybody I need first so that when I get clients, and I believe that I will get clients, then I'll have work to give the team members. So that was my mindset. Even when I had 3 clients, I hired my second assistant. Well, when I fired my first assistant and hired my second assistant, I was like, okay, we right now we don't have a lot of work. I have 3 clients, 1 client just left. So even though I could do all the work, we're preparing for what's to come. And sure enough, within like a matter of weeks, I had to hire on another person. So I would say think ahead and invest in your business, even if you don't have the capacity. to hire someone right now, like then you yeah, I would say you really have to think of it as in terms of like hiring an assistant is an investment, but it's going to help in the growth of your business. Hiring like a graphic designer, hiring a video editor, having those people in the back end to when you're ready to grow, they'll be ready to like work, and then you won't have a delay. Um, because having team members first, I think is really important in terms of when you land a client, they are having expectations set like, okay, the onboarding is a week or 2 weeks. Then the first post needs to get out, right? So it's like you need to be on top of everything and having team members early on already there is important. So if you're thinking about getting more clients, like even for me, I have like, yeah, 11 and onboarding 12, but my goal is to have more clients. So I'm looking to hire again. And that's in terms of being prepared for what's coming in the future. So that's kind of where my mindset is at right now.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? Because again, like you said around the team piece there, if you have this fear in Tino's case, yeah, like
Mhm.
obviously team members will solve quite a lot of that fear, right? Because you build up the capacity to then take on more clients. So Tino, that might be the move, man. You might have to make that kind of maybe uncomfortable decision of spending a little bit of money to bring somebody in that you may not need 100% right now. Or at least, like start the conversations to have these people kind of lined up, ready to go. That if you do want to take on more clients, that they could make that transition. Definitely something for us to talk a bit more on, though, man. I've one more question here, Andrea, that we'll run through. You've already spent like 53 minutes with us, so I appreciate you taking the time, but I don't want to hog your time for the day. So Toby asked, how do you deal with sending lots of proposals and then being sure that you'll actually get a return on investment on it? She also said then having decent expectations. But I guess if we take that first part of like, how do you do it? So you're sending these proposals, and there's kind of that uncertainty, I guess, where you don't know if you'll guaranteed to make
Yeah.
money on it, but you're hoping you'll make money back off it. How did you, I guess, when you're starting, because it's probably quite easy now because you know it
Mhm.
works so well. But I guess when you're starting, how did you kind of push through that?
Yeah, well, I watched other videos of people who had created success on Upwork, so that was the only thing I was going off of. I didn't
Mm,
know if I was going to get an ROI on it. I didn't know if I was going to have good expectations or anything to look forward to. I just knew that I saw other people do it, and so I would say, for me, I didn't know if there was an
mm,
ROI. And
yeah.
I just threw out proposals knowing that like I'm putting money into it and I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but I'm going to put the reps in and just see I didn't I it wasn't that I didn't know it was going to work. It was that I used the belief of other people and I just ran with it. And
Mm,
so I would say even for you, if you're starting out with Upwork, you probably, you don't have anything to go off of, but just use the belief system of other people and other people's success. And if you've seen other people succeed on Upwork, then you know that you can too if you're using the right systems. Um, so that's what I'll say about Upwork and proposals. Like I sent out as many, not knowing when I was going to get a client. Um, and I I hopped on the mentorship calls with Adam and Ty. I listened to Ty talk about proposals and things like that. And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna make it better, you know. And I had a team in place. And so I was like, I'm ready to go. I just need a client. And um, yeah, I would say the confidence just comes with like getting your reps in and just like getting in the trenches and just doing it, trying it out for yourself.
yeah, makes a ton of sense. Andrea, for people that want to maybe check in with you, like, do you post any content online currently? Just if you want to plug any like links you have, we can definitely do that.
No, I don't. I
Okay.
I want to grow a personal brand. I have not done that at all.
Okay, no worries. Well, I know you have access to the personal brand accelerator, so you can definitely, when the time is right, definitely go through that, and it might give you some kind of thoughts on the starting point and such. But Andrea, I really appreciate you taking the time. This was incredibly valuable. I'm sure everybody else will agree that was on the live session with us here, and I know I'm going to have messages in the group about this later on. So, thank you for taking the time. I wish you a productive rest of your day, and we'll talk soon, okay? So this is the time of the video where I mentioned to you that if you want to work one-on-one with me, you can do that. You can click the link in the description of the video and you can go ahead and actually book a call to speak with me. If you want to have a chat to see if what I offer is the right fit, of course, click that link, book in, and I'll chat to you soon. You've seen what Andrea has done. You've seen the growth she has gone through and kind of the references she has made to using the program and the support that we offer. So if you feel like that would be right for you, you can have a chat with me first. Let's just see if it's the right fit. And then from there, if it all makes sense, maybe we can actually go ahead and help you one-on-one as well. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you soon.